lose. I lose that battle every year. You see, I don't mind keeping it up a little longer. In the day, it's you got to take it out to the road and all that. It's hey, you got to break it out at this time. Being like, hey, I got other things on my mind, like
Well,
NFL, college football. Coach, the College Football Playoff Committee made their selection yesterday. No shock. LSU 1, Ohio State 2. And I think most people would say you can interchange those two teams and nobody would care the way they're playing.
Right.
Clemson number 3 and then Georgia number 4. Now, in a good note for Alabama, they had Alabama 5 and they had Oregon 6. And why I say that is because they're saying it was a lot of people assumed, and I heard Barrett Selly right before I got on air with Paul Feinbaum saying he thought Oregon would be 5 based on that. Now with Mac Jones out, it would be one of those situations where people would just look back. But now I realize that they're still giving Alabama that hope because if Georgia loses, right now being number 5 is a good look to be, because we assume at this point LSU will be a favorite and that Georgia could still lose to Texas A&M. I don't think they will. But if Georgia lost in the SEC title game, that would still give the confidence and the opportunity for Alabama to get in with that one loss.
Well, here's the other thing, which may really or may very well happen. LSU and Georgia play in the SEC championship game. LSU beats Georgia. No team is going in there with 2 losses. I don't care who they are. Not this year.
No.
All right, so if it stayed according to the ratings right now, then Alabama would move up to 4. Okay, which would really put where they would like it. The committee would like it. Now think about it. Would give an Alabama LSU rematch in the opening game of the playoffs, and a Clemson Ohio State, which could very well put LSU against Ohio State, Ohio State or Clemson, which would be a heck of a matchup for the game.
Coach, how much do you believe in teams? And you've coached some teams, and when you have young players, it takes some time sometimes for them to gel, to mold together, to have that same type of feeling. You're seeing that with Georgia. I mean, it took a while for Jake Fromm to get that confidence with his team around him. But Clemson really wasn't that squad. You had Justin Ross. You had guys like Travis Etienne, a very underrated running back for the attention that other guys get around the country. Great player. He's going to play on Sunday and be a star. But you look right now at the Trevor Lawrence team. At the beginning of the year, we were calling him Sunshine from Remember the Titans, and he was out there making big throws, and the guy just was already deemed the greatest, the guy after what he did and accomplished against Alabama. He went up against Goliath, and he took them down in a huge way, even more than a rock from David. I'm telling you, I look right now at the way they're playing and dominating, and I know they started off the season, but I feel like ever since that North Carolina game, silently, because the ACC – I'm not going to even mince my words. It's terrible this year. But based on since that North Carolina game, Clemson, to me, has looked like the Clemson I think we all assumed they were going to be at the beginning of the season.
I would agree with that. I think they have certainly corrected some of their problems, and they have, without doubt, in my mind. I don't diminish the effectiveness or the ability of Lawrence, the quarterback. He is outstanding, not just good, but outstanding. Against anyone, that if you've got a quarterback like that, I don't care who you're playing, you've got a chance to win the football game with a quarterback like that. If he has time, any amount of time to throw the football. Now, where Clemson was really hurt, and where I think they've had to adjust probably the most, is they lost pretty much their whole defensive front. That hurt them quite a bit, really. You can't lose that many first-round players and not affect you. But also, they had some experience and depth problems after last year at the receiver position. So it's given them a little more time to catch up with that, and I think they've had to adjust their football team defensively, Chad. I have not looked at enough to know how much schematically they've adjusted, but I do know they've adjusted some. But Clemson is a good football team right now, and I have to I have to take back any disparaging comments I've had about Clemson.
It's okay. I mean, the way they played early in the season, it's all right. That's the thing about football is, it's easy to go back to. I mean, people still talk to me today, and they talking, hey, you really think UWF's the best? I said, I mean, not UWF, UCF, and the fake nine. I said, look, listen, I was sort of joshing around with everybody anyway, but the team with Mackenzie Milton 2.5 years ago is a completely different football team than today's UCF. That team with that quarterback, that guy that walked in and beat Auburn, walked in that Peach Bowl and beat a team with all those guys like Jared Stidham. That guy could compete with anybody. I said, this team's different. You got a quarterback throwing picks in the end zone. Everybody wants to judge long term, and it's okay for anybody to feel the way they did against Clemson because earlier Clemson this year wasn't the greatest team. Now all of a sudden, and maybe it was a national title type hangover for a little bit longer. They were living the high life. They felt it. And then there was a coming to Jesus moment after North Carolina to say, listen, guys, we survived because you know as much as I do, even though Clemson's dominating the eye test, Coach, if they would have lost that game to North Carolina, they would be at the bottom of the pecking order based on the ACC this year. And it wouldn't be, even if they passed the eye test, we'd be arguing them behind where Oklahoma is getting argued right now.
Oh, yeah, absolutely they would. Maybe even lower. So there's no doubt about that. Listen, we have to realize that all teams are going to have their ups and downs during the year. And what we do is we take a candid look at where they are in this snapshot, this picture right now today. How do you rate them? And I think that's what you have to do, knowing, for example, the Patriots are a good example. Where they are right now today, they had to go play on a neutral field against some teams they're going to get beat. By the end of the year, I don't think that'll happen. And I think they'll have home field advantage and be able to get them in there. So, and the same as Clemson. Tell me 5 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, that you could say Clemson is up there with the best two teams in America. You couldn't.
No, you couldn't. Coach, we got to speak yesterday. It's nice to have an NFL coach in here that can get on the phone. Alex Scarborough joined us yesterday, and he was busy because I'm looking at the article right now he was writing at that time that now is the lead article on ESPN. Right there, number 2 headline besides Le'Veon Bell, mad that he's getting tested for HGH. And at this point, Nick Saban wants Mac Jones to be the lead dog with Tua out. This is what Saban had to say with Alex Scarborough, who joined Coach K yesterday, ESPN staff writer for the Crimson Tide.
I feel bad. I'm hurting. All right, but so I call him on Saturday night to cheer him up. He cheers me up. I call him last night because I've been sitting in that room for 10 hours yesterday watching film. I call him to cheer him up. He cheers me up. So this is a guy that has great spirit. He's very positive about just about everything he does and the effect that he has on other people. I think he's been a great ambassador for college football in terms of the class that he shows and the way he goes about what he does and how he affects other people. And I don't think there's any way that any of us can say we won't miss that spirit that he has. And, the first thing he says to me last night when I tell him good luck in your surgery tomorrow is he said, well, I just can't wait to get back and see the game on Saturday.
And that was Nick Saban talking about Tua and being the leader right there. In other ways, Tua wasn't the most vocal guy. He was a man where I would hope every kid and people in the South can appreciate this, put faith, family, and football in that order. And he did that, and he proved that the way Tebow did that. It was a good guy. But at this point, they know he's not coming back this year. This isn't a high ankle sprain or rushing him back. He's not coming back from this hip surgery this year. So they got to move forward. You can't, as a football coach, you know that. If you harp too long in the past, it'll drag you with it. You got Mac Jones. They want him to be the lead dog. But, Coach, he's never been in this situation as the lead dog. And to walk into a place where, let's just say a few people in Tuscaloosa like football is not the easiest of places to have that kind of pressure where they want to be.
No, it's not. But listen, this kid was a highly recruited kid coming out of high school. He's proven himself over and over and over there in their practice routine, as well as playing in the ball game. He's played well when he's played the ball game. Tua is just an outstanding. I can't say enough good things about him. He's a great kid. He's got everything going for him, I think, from a talent standpoint and so on. Here's the sad thing. Not only is he not coming back this year, but this could be the end of his career. I hate to go that far overboard. Don't think it will be. I think he'll be back and will play again because medicine has improved so much over the years.
Mm-hmm.
But this is tough, and unfortunately, doesn't play a running back position or a receiver where he has to torque it all the time. He's got to put some torque on it with that, but it's not his plant leg. I think it's the right leg again, so that may help a little bit. So, but anyway, I think he'll be back. But this is devastating, a devastating loss. And but Matt Jones, I have a lot of faith in Matt Jones. I think he'll play well.
Well, and two, Andrews Institute right here, they've been working on him in Birmingham, and he's been flying back and forth to Houston, getting the work he needs to get done. This was made clear, and we got great doctors. Eric Nielsen, who worked with Andrews, one of our great doctors. I get to talk to him. He's the Auburn team physician and Nielsen Orthopedic. But I want to say the difference with Bo Jackson, because you brought this up, great point with Bo Jackson. This is the injury that ended Bo Jackson's career. Also, for the people out there, because a lot of people weren't there for the Bo Jackson injury. I personally, I'm 34 years old. That was right when it was happening. I valued Bo Jackson's career. I knew he was a legend, but I didn't get to watch all his greatness. I was born the year that he was dominating for Pat Dye at Auburn. Coach, though, I want to bring up, though, Bo Jackson, they didn't get to him right away, and he continued to play with that hip injury. They expect Tua, they said, to make a 100% full recovery because they got it immediately. They got him in there, and they started to take care of it with the hip surgery. They said, based on the reports, the difference with Bo was that he continued to try to play through the pain, and it ended up costing him a little more. Was that is that accurate or no?
No, that's not accurate.
Okay.
He couldn't play on a hip in that situation. He had it. He had the typical, at the time, hip replacement surgery.
Mm-hmm.
I had it, and I can tell you, I don't know how anybody would continue or even attempt to play a running back position or play baseball, Major League Baseball. Well, he came back, tried to play baseball first, and I think they used him as a pinch hitter, so he didn't have to, put as much pressure on it. But it never really came back. His leg never really came back. He tried to play football again. That's what you're.
Yeah, that's
hearing.
what we're saying. Yeah.
He tried to play again, and gosh, it wasn't even close. He couldn't do it. There's no way on an artificial hip that you could go out there and do what he did before that. You just can't. God created something very, very special, and there's no way you're going to artificial hip is going to duplicate it. So anyway, that's what I'm talking when I'm talking
Yes.
about. Tua's going to have to be very, very careful. But with medicine today, the position that he plays, the leg that it's on, all of the rehab that he'll be going through, and the care that he will be given, I think he's got a chance to do it. Plus, he's a great kid. He'll work to improve himself in every way. So that being the case, I think he's got a chance to do it. My only point was, I didn't want to be negative. I never want to be negative. My only point was, not just, it goes without saying he can't play anymore this year.
Yeah.
The fact is, there is a chance that he could never play again because of this injury. Now that's
accurate, and also, Coach, and you played quarterback at the highest level. I played in high school and at a level where you understand. If you played quarterback, you understand the power from your hips and what you need. I mean, they're making jokes of sort of Dak Prescott's warm-up, but a lot of quarterbacks do that. The movement around your hips, the turn. And the great quarterbacks today, because you have to be elusive outside the pocket, you have to use that more than ever. Tua's no different, but even more than that, though, I want to ask you this question because you've been in the war room. Very few people get to be in that room as a head coach making decisions, guys. That you've been in drafting number one top tier picks. You helped build what Buffalo helped go to 4. You and the stories of talking to guys that are just legends of the business that helped build what was 4 straight Super Bowls with those players at Buffalo. But Coach, when you look at Tua, is he the kind of guy that when you're seeing these injuries, is it coincidence or this guy now is injury prone? He's been hurt 4 times. If you're in that locker room, and not to to fluff it for Alabama fans, but you're making a pick and a decision as your quarterback that you're going to invest in. You know how important we've talked about a number one pick can be. Is he now worth that risk based on that every time we've seen him in big moments? Maybe it's coincidence, but it's unfortunate. But he's been getting hurt. That has to play a factor in the decision.
Listen, one of the things we'll be following right on through the draft is going to be where he falls on the draft boards. Now, I will tell you this overall, just to start with, and I've said this before, so I will say it again one more time. We had a rule that get hurt once, that's terrible, but things like that happen in the game. Get hurt twice. Is this a trend? Is this a chronic situation with this person? Injured the third time, you're on borderline chronic, meaning that it will probably happen again and again. And he's had 4 surgeries in forget the number of games. I think it's 40 something, 40 ball games or something like that. Four surgeries. That's a ton. That's a ton. But there may be extenuating circumstances with this kid just because of the type individual that he is. Now, guys still have his ankles fixed up, so it'll be hard for him to have a high ankle sprain anymore because he's got that belted together, and it's whether he's going to be able to play on this hip, which we just talked about. My guess is that he has, as far as the draft, he's already fallen on a number of boards. Mm-hmm. There's no question about that. There are some boards that have him as a high risk, very positive on that draft board. We colored them. Okay, we colored them, and he would come under our yellow color. If we put a kid in yellow and put him on the board, would mean that there's some things you got to be aware of, but he's bright, he's sunny, that's a sunny color. It's not a deep red, orange, or something like that. But it means that there's something here that you got to take advantage of. I mean, you got to be aware of, but there's also a reason to believe that he could come back and be a superstar.
Yeah, and he has all the skills. It's just right now, a coach and a GM's job could be in jeopardy based on the one pick they decide at quarterback. And that's one where, with the injuries, I'm looking at some of the contracts. Sam Bradford, $20 million annually. Brock Osweiler, $18 million annually. Alex Smith, $19 million annually. And he was good, but now his leg, he may never walk again the same way. Yeah. Ryan Tannehill, $19.5 million. Cam Newton, $22 million this year. Guys out there like Joe Flacco, $23 million per season. I mean, we're talking Andrew Luck was $25 million before he got hurt. Derek Carr, $25 million. And Matthew Stafford, who's watching Jeff Driscoll with broken bones in his back, $27 million. It just goes to show you these are not the type of moves that you just got to be. This is you have many people in that room that could make or break your job based on that. And so far in 2.5 seasons, Tua has had 4 surgeries. That's just a lot.
Right. There's a big difference now on the ones that you just mentioned, the ones that get hurt during the season. Injuries are going to happen. But if you draft someone who has a problem to begin with, certainly the higher the draft pick, if it's the number 1 draft pick, you have hurt we used to have an equation that was pretty true. As to how much the loss of a number 1 draft pick would mean to your franchise, to your football team, and you affect a number of years. It depends on the team, depends on the personnel, so I can't get into all of it. But it's very likely it will affect you 3+ years. Think about it now. In a business like this, a detrimental effect to your football team for 3+ years, and you're sitting there and some owner has just put out millions of dollars, and you made that decision, your job's not in real good stead, I'll tell you.
No, and especially in a draft that Joe Burrow's stock and Justin Herbert's is flying up the board each and every day. And you know that the potential of a guy like Trevor Lawrence is there as well. So if you're one of those teams, there's a lot of options. It's not just the Tua sweepstakes anymore, obviously. But we'll talk some more. Thanks again to Alex Scarborough of ESPN, staff writer right there, covering the Alabama Crimson Tide, for joining us on the show. You could tell he was busy, Coach, yesterday, but he was glad enough to make time. That meant a lot because it was writing the lead article for ESPN. When we come back, we're going to talk some more on what's going on in the NFL. Take a look here at right now the big games coming up here. And if you're looking for football games tonight, Coach, if want to head to Miami of Ohio, obviously the most beautiful place, I'm sure, in November, $4 tickets. So there we go, $4.
Yes,
you can get yourself, you'd spend more money actually ordering them online through that service. Yeah. Coming back for more. It's the Talk Football with Coach K on ESPN Pensacola right here on this Wednesday afternoon.
When you're looking for a great deal on a reliable new or certified pre-owned vehicle, you can't beat Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola. Bob Tyler Toyota has the best selection in town at incredible low prices. You can check out their amazing inventory from Camrys to Tundra trucks to 4Runners. It's all at Bob Tyler Toyota, and you can find it online at bobtylertoyota.com. Also score a touchdown this football season with the car of your dreams. Again, it's only at Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola.
I'm attorney Stephen Luongo with Levin, Papantonio, Thomas, Mitchell, Rafferty, and Proctor in Pensacola, Florida. Distracted driving is a dangerous epidemic on America's roadways. In 2016 alone, over 3,000 people were killed in motor vehicle crashes involving distracted drivers. This according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. For more information, please visit us today online at levinlaw.com. Please be safe on the roadways. Stop the text, stop the wrecks.
Hello, sports fans. Miles Bentley here, General Manager at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram in Pensacola. Growing up, I always loved sports. Nothing but net, out of the park, through the uprights. Sink the puck Bentley, that was me. But my love of the game couldn't beat my love for Pensacola and helping folks get on the road of dreams in a new Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Sure, I never went to the big leagues in sport, but we're all pro here at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Proud to be in Pensacola.
Sometimes your bank, your family, and your friends love you, but they don't have the money to help you. Sometimes we have chances to make money, but the old saying, you've got to have money to make money, rings true. At Pensacola Specialty Pond, we can help. If you have trucks, heavy equipment, airplanes, boats, jet skis, anything with value, Pensacola Specialty Pond can loan you that short-term money you need. No credit checks, and at Pensacola Specialty Pond, you're going to find the money and the discretion you need.
Now at 6428 Pensacola Boulevard, north of Car City. Call 432-9050, 432-9050.
For small businesses, payroll is complex and time-consuming, and mistakes can mean tax trouble. Sure Payroll makes it easy to pay employees and file federal, state, and local taxes, and accuracy is guaranteed with full service plans. All done online in minutes, and with award-winning support, even on weekends and evenings. So spend more time for your small business and less time on payroll and taxes. To learn more and get a free 1-month trial, visit surepayroll.com now or call 844-SURE-PAYROLL.
It's time for some straight talk. You know those football players who are all talk, no show? Well, big wireless carriers aren't much different. Well, Straight Talk Wireless doesn't give you the hype, just the savings. For just $45 a month, you'll get the unlimited plan with 25 gigs of high-speed data, then 2G. No contract. All on the same 4G LTE networks as the big guys, but up to half the cost. Savings delivered right to your wallet. Only at Walmart. Savings may vary. See terms and conditions at straighttalk.com.
The Paul Feinbaum Show. Everything you wanted to happen hasn't happened.
Oh, my gosh. That's all any of y'all want to talk about is Alabama.
You're really not understanding the conversation, but anyway, we can move on.
Alabama's dynasty has just begun.
Hold on a second, Charles. Somebody wants to talk to you.
I don't want to talk to that compelling moron.
He's nothing but a lame-head old man.
2 till 5 every weekday afternoon. ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
You're out of your freaking mind, cowturd.
You're listening to Pensacola's home for hometown sports. ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM 99.1 FM.
And welcome back. Talk football with Coach K right here on ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM. Thanks for joining us on this Wednesday. Beautiful day here in Pensacola as we get set to go for another full day of football. And then tomorrow, got the games right back in the mix as the NFL, Thursday, Saturday sometimes. It'll start back up here near the holidays, Sunday, and then Monday Night Football. And got a good one on Thursday, Coach. Your former player still calls you, still talks to you all the time. He joins us on the show, looks up to you, really a mentor in many ways. Frank Reich will be playing against the Houston Texans. Huge game in the AFC South happening Thursday.
Well, it is. It's a big game, and Frank's just a great person. I think perfectly suited to be a head coach in the National Football League, and is doing a great job. His personality is exactly what you see on television. I mean, he's just total business.
Yeah, he is. You can see that.
Down to earth. Nothing really phases him that much, you know. You'd have to.
The reverse Pete Carroll.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Grown man Pete still wearing diapers.
Well, looking at one thing with Frank, I feel like Frank could pass a polygraph test even if he was telling a complete lie. If he said, "Are you Superman?" he could say yes, and that thing wouldn't move. I could just see that on the side. But he's the kind of guy right there that you need that in that situation. Because here's the thing with Indy. Indy doesn't need a clapper. They don't need somebody, an attaboy. Mm-hmm. They need to believe that they're as good as these other teams. Because, frankly, there's a real good chance at the beginning of the year after losing Andrew Luck and that roster, if you can't name somebody outside of Lawrence on defense, there's probably 2 or 3 people out there that can name more than 1 or 2 people on that team. And it's just, even T.Y. Hilton, their best player offensively, stat-wise, has been hurt.
He's been out most of the year.
Yeah. Marlon Mack is not a running back anyone talks about, but he continues. Their offensive line has some of the best out there, but they're not over the top. They got 1 or 2. It really, frankly, is a culture that has bred success and believes they can win, because they could easily be the 3-7 Broncos right now. They could easily be one of those 2-8 teams in a heartbeat.
How many coaches that you know of could hold that together when your top dog, before you ever play a game, is stepping away from the game? And most of the season leading up to the preseason, all the work, everything, the apprehension for the season is based on having Andrew Luck at quarterback. And all of a sudden, you're getting ready to play the season, and he retires. Now, for goodness sakes, who could hold that together? Not many. I can only think of 1 or 2. But Frank has done it, and he's done a super job with it.
Coach, today, Miles, you had the situation with Myles Garrett and Mason Rudolph. Mason Rudolph said today, look, no hard feelings at this point. He's moved on. Garrett's going to appeal based on the 2013 Antonio Smith ban during the appeal. He's gone to that one. He's going to the case where a situation happened for 2 preseason games and 1 regular season game as Antonio Smith of Houston was suspended for swinging his helmet at Richie Incognito. Now, not a bad – I mean, hey, look, if you're the case and study point to this, it's not a bad defense, because that was already a case that actually happened that's exactly like this, and he only got a few games. Yeah. He only got 1 game in the regular season and 2 preseason, which is really giving a guy an early vacation if he's a starter in the NFL. So, Coach, if you're the defense on this, that's not a bad way to look at it.
Oh, no, it's not. That set a precedent for what you have to do, what you have to follow to some extent. Now, there are always extenuating circumstances, and they can claim anything they want. But the bottom line act itself and duplication of that act and totally disparaging, just a terrible act of repentance, if you will. I mean, how can you punish someone to that extent? I don't agree with any of it. I think it's terrible that they were allowed to get away with it. I'm for appropriate penalties. But I think, to be fair, Chad, you got to be careful about how much time is given this kid based on what's happened in the past. Some other things. I go back through many things that have happened in the past in the National Football League. Now, you can't, some people will say, well, that was archaic, and you can't base anything on that. But there are a number of pretty drastic incidents that have gone with much less punishment.
Watching right now, he's appealing his suspension currently on TV with appeals officer James Thrash in New York. Coach, you can wear what you want. I got a blue suit on today, but he's wearing a real fancy color flamboyant type suit. I would go a little more stoic in this meeting. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
This isn't about
Absolutely.
That's one meeting I wouldn't mind doing suit and tie and looking like the old school book salesman in town. So looking, though, this is what Mason Rudolph, and he says he regrets his actions and is okay with Myles Garrett. This was Mason today when he was interviewed about the case and the situation.
To say the least, it was an unfortunate situation for everyone involved. I consider it a privilege, not a right, to be part of the NFL, to be part of a first-class organization representing the Rooney family and the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I fell short of that expectation last Thursday night. I have no ill will towards Myles Garrett. Great respect for his ability as a player, and I know that if Myles could go back, he would handle the situation differently. As for my involvement last week, there's no acceptable excuse. The bottom line is I should have done a better job keeping my composure in that situation, and it falls short of what I believe it means to be a Pittsburgh Steeler and a member of the NFL.
Coach, I want to ask you this because I see this all the time, and maybe it comes natural. I'm one of these brains that I actually do better. They used to put me on a teleprompter on TV, and I hated it. I hated looking. It would take me off. But I had a hard time looking at that. But I can speak for, I do 5-6 hours a day without a note and be able to, compute things. That's how it helps me. Most people aren't like that. But when you see guys reading stuff off of pieces of paper, when it should be such an easy answer, to me, he should be able to look at the cameras and say, hey, look, I shouldn't have done that with Myles. I'm sorry. I hope he's better. But are they taught? Because we're talking about millions of dollars and suspensions on the lines and things that the next action you take is critical in the NFL. The NFL's the biggest, it is the mecca of this country and what it does. It owns a day that the churches used to own on Sunday. Coach, how do you feel, when you see a player reading off a sheet? Or are you guys advised to have players do that in a lot of circumstances?
Well, you see this in many cases, not just the NFL. You see it at a mom and pop grocery store where someone gets up and reads a statement. And you see the opposite of that as well, people who can handle it verbally without any notes. But in the NFL, I'm not surprised to see this because they want every word is calculated. If you noticed, there was an awful lot of reference to the NFL and what he should have done, and the NFL and the team and Rooney, and there's just an awful lot there that was meant to take the NFL off the record there, so people didn't associate this with the NFL. Okay, and it was calculated. Now, could they have gotten him to say that without notes? Possibly, but I think they wanted to make sure that certain things were covered in that response, and that was the reason for the reading of it. And really, let's stop and think about it. When people heard that, or if they hear it again in the future, they're probably not going to think about notes.
No, and everybody on the radio right now didn't even know that unless I said it.
Exactly. So, I think it was well deserved to do it there. I don't blame them for doing it there.
No, and frankly, let's also, it's one of those, I guess I'm going to say, cut the crap moment with Mason and Miles. They don't like each other. Miles, after the game, said the exact words, and Ian Rappaport was in the locker room when it said it. He said, "This MAGA beep beep wanted to come up in my face," and then he got to the thing and said, "I'm sorry." Mason Rudolph, after the game, said he's Bush League, he's a joke. That's how they actually felt. Their emotions got the best. Then afterwards, the NFL, everybody sat down and they've talked to him and they've said the appropriate things. But don't think for 2 seconds, because they're singing Kumbaya today on ESPN, that they would go have dinner together, because those guys won't look at each other walking by the locker rooms. I'm sure, and it's football. You know what? You need a little of that. I hope that football has more of that. It's football. I don't want David Ortiz hugging the New York Yankees. We don't want that kind of stuff. Coach, I got no problem with this. The more, Cleveland and Pittsburgh don't need a reason to have friendship in the NFL right now.
No, that's true. That's true, and it's not going to be the case. Don't worry about it.
They play in Pittsburgh next week. That should be interesting.
Should be interesting
when Cleveland goes over there for sure. When we come back, we're going to talk a little more on what's going on right now around the NFL. We'll get to some college football news and notes. Yesterday, the College Football Playoff Committee, no shock, LSU, Ohio State, Clemson, and Georgia, your top 4. But having Alabama 5, a good look right now for the Crimson Tide over Oregon and Baylor. Well, obviously Baylor, but also the Oregon Ducks and Oklahoma Sooners in that case. Coming back for more, it's ESPN Pensacola, and this is Talk Football with Coach K.
When you're looking for a great deal on a reliable new or certified pre-owned vehicle, you can't beat Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola. Bob Tyler Toyota has the best selection in town at incredible low prices. You can check out their amazing inventory from Camrys to Tundra trucks to 4Runners. It's all at Bob Tyler Toyota, and you can find it online at bobtylertoyota.com. Also score a touchdown this football season with the car of your dreams. Again, it's only at Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola.
I'm attorney Stephen Luongo with Levin, Papantonio, Thomas, Mitchell, Rafferty, and Proctor in Pensacola, Florida. Distracted driving is a dangerous epidemic on America's roadways. In 2016 alone, over 3,000 people were killed in motor vehicle crashes involving distracted drivers. This according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. For more information, please visit us today online at levinlaw.com. Please be safe on the roadways. Stop the text, stop the wrecks.
Hello, sports fans. Miles Bentley here, General Manager at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram in Pensacola. Growing up, I always loved sports. Nothing but net, out of the park, through the uprights. Sink the puck Bentley, that was me. But my love of the game couldn't beat my love for Pensacola and helping folks get on the road of dreams in a new Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Sure, I never went to the big leagues in sport, but we're all pro here at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Proud to be in Pensacola.
Every week, Harley-Davidson talks about enjoying your freedom that owning a Harley provides. Today, Harley-Davidson of Pensacola wants to draw attention to that very freedom we have in this great country of ours because of sacrifices made by the fine men and women of our armed forces. Harley-Davidson of Pensacola continues to raise awareness of veteran suicide. Anyone who attempts to do 22 push-ups at Harley-Davidson of Pensacola on November 22nd will get a voucher towards 22% off a licensed product in motor clothes or parts. Harley-Davidson of Pensacola. Let's ride.
Pros, shop Lowe's Black Friday deals to save your business money. Deals like $200 off a DeWalt 12-inch 15-amp dual bevel sliding compound miter saw, now just $349. If you're managing properties and need to update appliances, get up to 40% off select appliance special values, including kitchen suites as low as $1169 when you order large volume purchases through our quote support program. For these Black Friday deals and more, do it right for less. Start with Lowe's. Appliance offer valid through 12/5. DeWalt offer valid through 11/27. Volume discount terms and conditions apply. U.S. only.
How good are PXG clubs? Golf writers describe them as absolutely remarkable and the best golf clubs out there. Our customers call them insanely good and say they live up to the hype. So what are you waiting for? Step up your game and enjoy golf more than ever. Call 844-PLAY-PXG, 844-PLAY-PXG, or visit pxg.com to book your custom fitting. PXG. Nobody makes golf clubs the way we do. Period.
You're listening to Pensacola's home for hometown sports. ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
Welcome back. Talk football with Coach K right here on ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM. Chad Brilliante alongside Coach K. Stevenson, former NFL coach. Coach, throughout the years, you've had to coach a number of guys. I was just looking up on the screen here with NFL Primetime as a number of the guys meeting in New York to go over, especially with Myles Garrett and his appeal. But you also had a chance to coach. He's all over the airwaves now, but Louis Riddick, correct? You coached?
Yeah. Louis in the World League. In fact, we gave Louis a heck of an opportunity there. He was not projected to be a top-flight player in the World League. Okay, he was a average player. His reputation was an average to good player. Came out of Pittsburgh, I think. And we put him at strong safety, and he had a good camp. And then we had to make a real strong decision. Never will forget. Our starting strong safety at the time was a kid who was the starting strong safety for Southern Cal for 3 years, and had been with us the year before, and was a good player. But Louis had made such progress and was actually faster and probably had more innate skills. So we had to make a decision as to whether to play Eric and cut this kid who had been our safety. It was tough. We made the decision. We kept. We did that. We made that change, and gave him a chance to play. And he played well the whole year.
Could have, changed his lifestyle of what he is today.
There's no question.
I'm sure he was a decent talker back in the day.
Well, he got a chance to go on and play in the National Football League too. We had quite a few players that became became the sack leader in the National Football League. Mike Sinclair, and interesting players like Billy Goldberg, who later went on to rule the world with Goldberg.
Was he always that fierce, coming out
He
of the
was
fire?
Billy was like a throwback to the 1940s and 50s player. You had to kill him to beat him. You couldn't just, he was not the biggest guy. People don't understand that. He was about 265 to 270 in there against 300-pounders, 320. And he could certainly hold his own. He was strong as a bull.
He got a little bit bigger when he went to WCW.
Not much. You'd be surprised. He looks bigger compared to those other guys, but put him in a football uniform next to some of the football players, and he didn't look that big.
Well, that's like Brock Lesnar. Lesnar tried to go to the NFL, and he didn't even make. He didn't really get a chance, and he's out there with these traps and fighting in the UFC, and it's I hope the respect factor for NFL players. I was standing next to Fred Robbins at the game, and Fred played on that defensive line really one of the best defensive lines in the history of the NFL. When you look at just the defensive line, you had Michael Strahan, O.C. Umenyiori. You had your backups were Justin Tuck. Mm-hmm. You had, he was up there. You had, a big guy in the middle. They had 2 or 3 other guys, and they all went on to be Pro Bowlers. They had, I think, 6 or 7 guys. Kiwanuka. That team was loaded with Tom Coughlin in that style. But, these guys are huge human beings. Yeah. And even the ones Tom Brady and people want to joke around because they want to be him, and he's a 6'4", 230-pound individual. Those guys, they stand out in a crowd, these individuals, of how big they are. But I want to talk a little bit Alabama and the situation they're in right now, Coach. Mac Jones, we already saw that Nick Saban said he'd love for him to step up and be the guy, be the dog, be the one in charge. And he's going to get an opportunity because the game against Auburn always is a big game, but it could make or break the decision of who gets in based on that. Oregon plays Utah, and I truly believe if Utah beats Oregon, it's going to be really hard for the committee to put Utah over Alabama.
Oh, I would think so. Listen, Utah is not what the TVs want to see. Believe me.
No.
That's the last team that's in contention here. That's the last team that they want to see involved in the playoff. So you're right there. You're exactly right.
Oregon has some appeal to it based on Herbert.
Oregon has a lot of appeal.
Yeah, Nike might get a couple ads, I'm sure, in there. They might buy a few.
Well, forget Nike, but the quarterback is the big thing there. And their
And the athletic director is also in charge of the committee. So there might be, a little.
They have a little pull.
They have a little pull there.
But the other thing, too, with keep in mind now, and that's interesting on this Alabama situation, with Mac Jones at quarterback, for all intents and purposes, as you look at the Alabama future right now, has been for a while, and you look at next year, they never expected to have Tua back next year. He was going to go in the draft, okay? Some people have said that, well, that maybe there's a chance he'll come back and play another year in college. I don't see that either. But at any rate, what they're looking at is Mac Jones is their projected starter for next year. Now they are looking at maintaining a certain level of play, being the best. So Mac Jones has to be an outstanding quarterback for that to happen because of the way they're playing the game right now. I think Mac Jones I think he will continue. He's the type that will continue to improve as they go along. So this is huge for him, and also it's huge for Alabama as it relates to next year. Chad, think about what this will do for them next year to let him have a game against. He'll have a warm-up game this weekend, then he'll have a game against Auburn, which will be a huge game on the road in a hostile situation against a very good football team. And then likely in the playoffs, for goodness sakes, with everything at stake, or at worst case, in a big bowl game. Okay, against a good football team. So if you were going to get a quarterback prepared for next year, could you ask for more than that?
No.
I mean, that's the big kahuna there.
Well, it is, and still a lot of football left. Oklahoma has not passed the eye test lately, Coach, but there are a lot of pundits. Jerry Palm, who used to join us when I was in Orlando, he was a weekly guest. That was, I'm aging myself now, 13 years ago when I first started in the business, and I remember he was a regular. He was just starting. He was, he'd been around a little bit, but he like Joe Lunardi does with bracketology, or the way that now Adam Schefter has become the blue checkmark guy where everybody goes to. Jerry Palm was just a guy writing, and now he is the CBS lead candidate of all the bowl projections. He's got Oklahoma right now in that final spot. Now, I don't see them in the eye test. However, it's got the brand, it's got the coach, it's got the quarterback, it's got the story, based on Jalen Hurts. They found a way to win against Baylor. Now, see, by the eyes of a lot of the people on the board, that was a huge win against a top 10 team that was unbeaten, when most people saw that game as you were getting your whipped in by an okay football team, and you had to come back to win. That's the eye test talking. But based on the committee and just based on the numbers, you beat a top 10 team and came back on the road in a thrilling game. I don't know, but Oklahoma apparently is still in the mix and right there at the top, according to a lot of people, for that fourth spot.
You realize they lost a game and could have lost the next two? They could be 3 games down right now.
I completely understand that. Yeah,
I don't think they passed the eyeball test. I really don't. I think there's the big thing, obvious thing, is they have no defense.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and I'm showing you right now that Jerry Palm's got them, according to the end of the season, based on their schedule. He sees Oklahoma getting that fourth spot. I'm like I said, I'm a little hesitant to say that, but I think now I do believe though, and it's not the right way. And let's all be honest with each other here that they're not getting the 4 best teams. They proved that last year because nobody thought that Notre Dame was better than Georgia. Agreed? It was just Notre Dame was unbeaten. They had run their schedule. They have the money, the resources, the fan base. They sell. The brand sells. So Notre Dame was getting in. But most people would rather see as a football matchup Georgia versus Clemson last year. That would have been a better football matchup in round 1. It didn't happen. Oklahoma would not be as good as Alabama, but if it came down to where Utah beat Oregon, I think that they would put Oklahoma in over Alabama based on if it happened today. And I don't agree with that, but I think based on that, if they win their conference championship, they're going to put so much emphasis. And remember, they go drink wine and have fun, make this committee in Grapevine, Texas. It's in Big 12 country where the decisions are made. And there are a lot of pundits with Oklahoma backing that would, if they're conference champions of the Big 12, and you don't have Tua, and you didn't even win your division, people will block the noise of Alabama being the better team.
Yeah,
I don't agree with that, Coach, but I do see that happening if it came down to it.
Here's the flip side of that. Alabama comes out, and we know what they'll do this weekend, but they go down and just demolish Auburn. I don't think they can keep them out of there.
No.
They cannot keep
But
them
I
out
don't
of
think they can demolish Auburn with Mac Jones, personally. I don't, yeah.
Let's see. Alabama's a very, very hard football team. They're a hard football team to take a look at and predict what they're going to do, because they can jump out there like I never would have this last week, even with Tua, for them to go out there in the first 4 plays of the ball game and 4 touchdowns. First 4 times they had the football, 4 touchdowns, and they're up 35 points.
Mm-hmm.
Bang, 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 like that. No, I wouldn't, because I thought Mississippi State, despite all their problems, despite their poor coaching, that they would be able to play better defense than that.
When we come back, we'll continue our conversation here. College football, NFL games. We'll look into some of the early games. And also, remember, Calvert's in the Heights Pick'ems contest this week for the big matchup right there in college football between 2 teams that are looking to take that step with Penn State and Ohio State. Big matchup right there in the battle right there to see who can win. Penn State still with the legit shot, even though I don't believe in them, right there with 1 loss. Coming back for more, it's Talk Football with Coach K.
When you're looking for a great deal on a reliable new or certified pre-owned vehicle, you can't beat Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola. Bob Tyler Toyota has the best selection in town at incredible low prices. You can check out their amazing inventory from Camrys to Tundra trucks to 4Runners. It's all at Bob Tyler Toyota, and you can find it online at bobtylertoyota.com. Also score a touchdown this football season with the car of your dreams. Again, it's only at Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola.
I'm attorney Stephen Luongo with Levin, Papantonio, Thomas, Mitchell, Rafferty, and Proctor in Pensacola, Florida. Distracted driving is a dangerous epidemic on America's roadways. In 2016 alone, over 3,000 people were killed in motor vehicle crashes involving distracted drivers. This according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. For more information, please visit us today online at levinlaw.com. Please be safe on the roadways. Stop the text, stop the wrecks.
Dude, it's game day, and I'm fired up that football is back.
I know, but I'm bummed they don't show my favorite team on TV around here.
All right, well, what about that place Calvert's? They're a really cool English pub-style restaurant, and they have a really good drink menu.
Yeah, but what about the game?
Don't worry, they have the NFL Sunday ticket and plenty of TVs, so we can watch any game that we want.
Ooh, I just looked at the menu, and that Abbey Road burger is calling my name.
Calvert's in the Heights Restaurant and Bar, 3102 East Urbana Street, calvertsintheheights.com.
There's only one place in town for the lowest prices and greatest selection of firearms. Pensacola Indoor Shooting Range. Visit our fully stocked Gun Pro Shop for new and used firearms, accessories, and ammunition. Check out the Indoor Shooting Range. We offer rentals on guns, including fully automatic machine guns and silencers. Ladies, this is the safe place to learn how to use a gun. Plus, Tuesday is Ladies' Day. Women shoot for half price all day. The best place to buy firearms in Pensacola. Pensacola Indoor Shooting Range. Highway 29 in Car City.
Stephen A. Smith here. If you're like me, you have a mortgage and a family who depends on your income, then you need to protect the ones you love with life insurance. Life insurance can help pay off a mortgage or send the kids to college. It's peace of mind. Think you can afford it? Chances are Select Quote can help you get it for less than $1 a day. Select Quote comparison shops up to 10 highly rated companies, including Prudential, Banner Life, and Mutual of Omaha, and others, to find you the company with the best rates. For example, Select Quote could find a 35-year-old man a $500,000 policy for under $21 a month. That's less than $1 a day. Select Quote's breakthrough technology allows them to quickly match you with the best insurance company to find your best policy. Plus, quotes are free. Start protecting your family today. Call Select Quote at 1-800-601-6992. That's 1-800-601-6992. Or go to selectquote.com/Smith.
Get full details in the example policy at selectquote.com/commercials. Your premium could vary depending on health, issuing company, and other factors. Not available in all states.
Talk football every day with Pensacola's own Coach K.
Credit a great performance by Garoppolo. And I love the way he throws the football. He's got all the things going for him.
Every weekday, noon till 1 on ESPN Pensacola, 1330 FM 99.1.
You're listening to Pensacola's home for hometown sports. ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
And welcome back. Couple minutes here. Talk football with Coach K on ESPN Pensacola. Coming up, Tomahawk Talk. Terrence A. Gross will join us to break down some more on Florida State's so easy coaching search and what's going on right now. They're bowl eligible, Coach. Good for Florida State. They got the rivalry game coming up here next after this week, the bye week, and then Florida State will take on Florida in the. That's always a huge game. Yeah, you know,
big game regardless of the records. Yeah.
You think government should step in games like that? They call it the Battle of the Governor's Cup right there. But a lot of legislation went in to have that game. When we don't want government messing with football too much, but do you think it's a good thing when it's something to benefit all parties like that?
Well, there's good and bad there. I think the bad, obviously, are many people don't want government, as you said, stepping in and controlling who you play, when you play them, and so on. But in this case, I think you have to look at all the criterion here. You had 2 state universities, not a private school. That's the difference. Florida doesn't play Miami anymore. They couldn't do that with Florida State, but they could with a private school. But 2 public schools, one trying to beat the door down to get further recognition and to play Florida, which is the best way to get the recognition that they needed to improve their recruiting and grow as a football program. And they sold that bill to the politicians, and the politicians obviously thought in the best interest of the state of Florida and football in the state of Florida and public universities, meaning Florida State was a public university, that it would be better if Florida played. Florida did not want to play them, did not want to give them that recognition. Mm-hmm. So they passed a law that required Florida to play them. Now, be it right or wrong, that happened in 1957. So,
yeah,
we'll see.
Well, Coach, we've got a couple minutes left here looking at some of the games this week. Penn State versus Ohio State. Ohio State, just to show the value of how good they are, 18-point favorite. Does that sound about right, or based on how good this team has been?
Yeah, it sounds about right to me. I think they're at home too.
Yeah.
So yeah, it sounds about right.
I'm very intrigued to watch them in the big stage because what Jim Haslett, and I respect the heck out of Jim, as your former player, sat here and said that he's been hearing that this might be the best roster ever assembled by Ohio State. So that's pretty cool. I mean, that's fascinating to think. And we'll see this week. 18, almost a 3-touchdown favorite over a team that's ranked number 8 in the country. That's pretty fascinating. Coach, enjoyed it. Looking forward to doing it again tomorrow.
You bet. Look forward to it.
All right. For Coach K. Stevenson, I'm Chad Brilliante. Thanks for joining us here with the former NFL coach. Thanks to all the great sponsors like the Levin Papantonio Law Firm for making this possible. We're coming back for more Tomahawk Talk on ESPN Pensacola.
262-6000 or visit our website at ESPNpensacola.com.
ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM. WEBY, Milton, Pensacola.
ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM, 99.1 FM. I'm Davis Allen with your sports headlines. In college football, the top 7 teams are unchanged in this week's college football playoff rankings. LSU remains at number 1, followed by Ohio State. Then Clemson and Georgia come in at 3 and 4. Alabama ranks 5th, while Oregon and Utah are 6th and 7th. Penn State, Oklahoma, and Minnesota round out the top 10. In the NFL, Cleveland Browns defensive end Myles Garrett will have the appeal of his suspension heard today. The 23-year-old pass rusher was suspended indefinitely without pay after ripping off the helmet of Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback Mason Rudolph and hitting him in the head with it. This happened last week during Thursday Night Football in the closing seconds. In the NBA, Carmelo Anthony is back in an NBA uniform. Melo made a season debut for the Portland Trail Blazers in a 115-104 loss to the New Orleans Pelicans. He finished with 10 points, 4 rebounds, and went 4 of 14 shooting. He also committed 5 turnovers and 5 fouls. And LeBron James made history last night, scoring 25 25 points, 11 rebounds, and 10 assists. LeBron James became the first NBA player to record a triple-double against all 30 NBA teams. LeBron accomplished the feat in a 112-107 victory over the Oklahoma City Thunder. It was his 86th career triple-double, which ranks him 5th all-time. In the MLB Commissioner Rob Manfred is promising severe penalties if the Houston Astros are found guilty of using technology to steal signs. He says a thorough investigation is underway, and Houston is the only team that is being targeted in this investigation. And back in the NFL, Washington Redskins safety Monte Nicholson is the subject of an investigation into the death of a woman at his home. Nicholson and an accomplice dropped off a 21-year-old female at the hospital in Loudoun County, Virginia last week. She was pronounced dead from a suspected overdose. No one has been charged in the incident. Nicholson did play on Sunday against the New York Jets. I'm Davis Allen with your sports headlines for ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
If you're a small business owner, there's no better place to find the impact hire to help your business than LinkedIn. LinkedIn Jobs takes the time to learn more about who you're looking for and then recommends qualified candidates from their community of engaged and career-minded people, candidates who you likely won't be able to reach anywhere else. The truth is, over 70% of the U.S. workforce is on LinkedIn, and posting your job on LinkedIn gives you the best chance of finding and starting a conversation with your next star recruit. It's no surprise a new hire is made every 8 seconds using LinkedIn. So build your winning team by posting a job on LinkedIn and visit linkedin.com/sports to get $50 off your first job post. That's linkedin.com/sports for $50 off your first job post. linkedin.com/sports. Terms and conditions apply.
This is Tort Talk with personal injury lawyer Terrence A. Gross.
Florida's no-fault law was passed in 1971. However, several changes took place in 2013 which negatively impacted accident victims. First, if you do not treat within 14 days, you lose your PIP benefits. Second, massage therapy and acupuncture are no longer covered benefits. Finally, if you pay for 10,000 benefits and are not EMC certified, you may only have 2,500 in coverage.
Visit grossandschuster.com.
Hello, sports fans. Miles Bentley here, General Manager at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram in Pensacola. Growing up, I always loved sports. Nothing but net, out of the park, through the uprights. Sink the puck, Bentley. That was me. But my love of the game couldn't beat my love for Pensacola and helping folks get on the road of dreams in a new Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Sure, I never went to the big leagues in sport, but we're all pro here at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Proud to be in Pensacola.
Welcome into Tomahawk Talk right here on ESPN Pensacola, brought to you by the Gross & Schuster Law Firm. For all your legal advice, whether you're bit by a dog or get in an auto accident, the Gross & Schuster Law Firm there for you to take care of you. Pensacola's lawyers taking care of you in this area and joining us each and every Wednesday on the show. Terrence A. Gross from the Gross & Schuster Law Firm, proud Florida State alumni. And Terrence, congratulations on the bowl-eligible win right there, as they are now headed. I know that it's a smile that would be nicer to say congratulations on a shot at the college football playoff, but the steps are taken. And, hey, at the beginning, if we talked about this 4 weeks ago, and I was saying this to you, I don't know if we would have believed that bowl eligibility would even have been on the surface the way they played about 4 or 5 weeks ago. So they've got it together. They've beaten the teams they're supposed to. Let's build on the optimistic. I'll add the optimism right there. Glass a little bit overflowing, not just half full, I guess you could say, kind of.
Well,
welcome to the show, Terrence.
I can't share your jubilation. No, it's certainly a lower goal than we anticipate. So, anybody that wins 6 games can go to a bowl, so it's not a big deal.
We lost to Tulsa, if it makes you feel any better. I mean, aren't my team the fake?
Well,
okay, there you go.
I get it.
Okay,
At the end of the day, there's a reason why Willie Taggart was let go.
Yes.
So our goal is not to be bowl eligible. We don't have to win national titles every year, but just to beat the teams we're supposed to beat. And so forth, and then not losing to Wake Forest and these other schools that maybe have 1 4-star. But Anyway, I have a few topics to talk about today. I guess we can eventually get into the coaching thing if you want, the coaching carousel. And then we could talk about the upcoming Florida game, which I just heard you talking about with Coach K. Those are some good topics. I guess to start off, the recruiting thing is going to start to be an issue as we lose players. We had another decommit this week of a linebacker with all the uncertainty in the program. So maybe we'll just start there. Compare this search with the Willie Taggart search. Well, Jimbo did leave us very quickly. We didn't fire him. It was his deal, middle of the season, and I think we panicked. And we got a good coach, Willie Taggart, a great top-shelf coach. I don't think so. We paid him a top-shelf salary, so he is making $1 million a year at South Florida. Signed on to Oregon, where he went 7-5, was making $2.5 million, and we signed him to a $5 million plus with all the guarantees associated with it. And really, with a fellow that had the heart, he was a Seminole. He was raised a Seminole. He tried his best. He not a lazy bone in his body, but probably not the man for the job, really. So I guess they don't want to make the same mistake twice. So, yes, they've hired a firm. Everything is very hush-hush. So even the so-called insiders, you think you know some, I think I know some. Nobody knows squat. And you already... admittedly, you ate crow a couple weeks ago that you were sort of misinformed. You felt confident about something, but we were all hearing the same thing. And what I've heard you heard a rumor about Jack Del Rio maybe throwing his hat in the ring or being considered. I heard as of last night that they're back talking to Bob Stoops. So, and I think what I heard, this is all rumor now because I can't validate one thing, folks. This is just what's going around in social media. There may be no truth to this at all. But they're saying that the showstopper was that he also wanted us to guarantee that he'd be the AD at the end of the contract.
Okay.
Which we can't do. I mean, our AD right now is only temporary. And then our Thrasher president is not going to be president much longer. So how in the world can you hamstring a future administration 7-8 years from now and guarantee somebody who's never even been to FSU with no FSU connections and say, by the way, we're just going to give you the key to the whole university? Can't be done. So I don't think they got hung up on money. I don't think money was an object. So he still, what's attractive to him is not only his winning record, a national title, Oklahoma, all that speaks for itself. 59 is not old, but he's available. Because some of these people, we keep on throwing these names around, and there's some pretty pricey buyouts. So we're already doing an $18 million buyout for Willie, and people forget to get Willie away from Oregon was a $4 million buyout. So we had to do that buyout. I mean, money's money after a while. And so the other rumor out there, and I've tried to check it out, and maybe you can confirm it, but I've heard two different things, and people are adamant, is with Fleck at Minnesota. Yeah. They said, they quickly offered him, and he signed a 7-year extension. And so some people say he signed on November 15th, the exact date that he signed it. If he signed it, then we can't get him.
Yeah.
But others say, no, he doesn't have to sign till December 15th. He has till December 15th to sign it. So if he hasn't signed the extension, then we can make a grab for him, paying $2 or $3 million,
and that would be a huge hire. I think that's the splash that he's a great coach. What he's done,
and nobody can debate that. What he did, not only with Minnesota but before that. So he's got a great body of work.
Western Michigan, he went undefeated with them. Yeah,
and he looks intense. So I think with Willie, maybe just seen him on the sideline, so passive, things going wrong, players targeting, and he's just there, unflappable, not getting anybody's grill. I guess people want to see some emotion. And you don't have to. Everybody doesn't have to be a Bobby Knight.
No.
Everybody doesn't have to be a Mike Leach. You don't have to have spit flying and whatever. But even Bobby Bowden, who was a kind-hearted man, I saw him from time to time when, whether it's Charlie Ward or whoever, they did something wrong, he would be animated. And if he felt the refs made a bad call, Bobby was on the sidelines and that little body was just, he was just popping around, and Willie Taggart, he was just there, no matter what the call was, whatever, just sort of unflappable, just calm and cool, and people, I think, wanted to see something. And when the team was undisciplined, now some people maybe have a way of coaching in a quiet manner. I coached travel baseball. I never yelled at an umpire, never kicked dirt, did none of that stuff. But we were pretty well-oiled machine. But the product, I think, what really was the doom to Willie, it wasn't just losing to Miami. It was number one in the nation last year in penalties, and heading in that same direction this year. Some distinctions you don't want, and distinctions that have to go to the coach. How many illegal formation penalties can you get in one season? First game of the season, okay, I get it. New system, Bryles is new. But when you're 6, 7, 8 games deep in a season and you're still getting 2 illegal formation penalties and a handful of illegal procedures, it has to go to coaching, because you don't see Clemson doing that, do you? Do you see Alabama doing that?
No.
So it's not like, we're picking the players that are just that don't have a football IQ. I don't think so. We all are picking from the same players. Some are faster than others and stronger, but as far as the penalties, it's a bad omen.
Well, it's going to be exciting to see, because if we do get Ohio State and Clemson as that opening matchup, which I think is on track, because if LSU wins out, I think based on that they still would have to beat Georgia, they would still have to win a couple big games. Texas A&M, you win those games, you're the SEC champ. You'd beat Alabama, you'd beat Florida, you beat all those teams. They'll probably get the number 1 seed. Ohio State, though, and Clemson would be right there at 2 and 3. And if that happens, that's one heck of a showdown. That's probably the best. If that happens today, that'd be the best first-round game I think you could think of, dating back to when Ohio State Urban Meyer played against Alabama in the opening round when Ohio State won. That's a heck of a showdown right there.
It is,
yeah.
But even LSU Clemson would be fireworks as well.
Yeah,
they have a lot of similarities besides their Tigers. So they all got Tigers there, but yeah. Anyway, so it's exciting. So and still, even I heard you talking to Coach K about the Final Four and Alabama being number 5. I still love what Dabo said a couple weeks ago when Clemson was number 5, and he went anywhere. He just let it play out. He's just saying, I don't care. Whatever it is, it's going to play out, because he knew that if Clemson wins, they're in.
Yeah.
And he didn't say this, but we know their path to qualifying for the Final Four is the easiest, especially how bad the ACC is. So the ACC championship is going to be a yawner. I don't care who the sacrificial lamb is this year, Pittsburgh, Virginia, whoever it is. It doesn't matter. So there's just nobody close to them. So it doesn't really matter. So Alabama, long as they win, and I think really the Auburn game, of course, they don't have Tua. That's another thing to talk about. But if they beat Auburn handily without Tua, Auburn is the school that gave Oregon the bloody nose. That's easy. You don't have to get into all this style points and all the stuff that they're looking at. That's a simple comparison, really. And Baylor had to win out. And Baylor with their schedule and whatever, it was a must-win game for them, and that was a sad loss. They had that game wrapped up, by the way. It's just one of those typical two different things, but not skipping to another subject, but it goes back to my Heisman favorite. My Heisman favorite preseason was Jalen Hurts. He's still my Heisman favorite. And remember this, Jalen Hurts does not play defense. I don't think he's on the So Oklahoma's defense stinks, really.
Well, I'm glad that Baylor. I'm not glad that Baylor lost for their story. I'm glad they lost for college football, because if Baylor would have won and then they would have beat Texas and won the Big 12 title, they would have got in like Notre Dame did, and not even at the level of Notre Dame, because Notre Dame was more competitive than people gave them credit last year when they played Clemson. That game was a little bit the end of that first half, and I'm sure you watched that, Terrence. Notre Dame and Clemson in that college football playoff game. It was a battle for the first, I'd say 20 minutes, and then all of a sudden Clemson just started to score and they beat them up. But Notre Dame was a legit football team. They just weren't Clemson, and nobody was. But I look at this year, if Baylor would have gone undefeated, it would have been another one of those Michigan State, Washington, where they would have played LSU or Ohio State and gotten beat by 30. because they're just not at that level. And I don't know if Oklahoma is, but their offense can score with anybody. It's just their defense doesn't want to stop anybody. I like right now, I think the 4 best teams in the country are still, maybe even with Mac Jones, would still be right now the teams that are in today. LSU, Ohio State, Clemson, and Georgia. But then with Tua, you can insert Alabama right into that mix. Not to say Oregon doesn't deserve a shot if they can win out, but I think it's pretty clear who have been the best football teams. And Georgia's getting better. I've got my own theory on it, and it's not the one that most people are thinking of. But I truly believe that Georgia, the way they're playing lately, and they still have to play against Texas A&M this week and win some games, but I think Georgia ends up beating LSU. I got an LSU wife. I'll lose dinner by saying these kind of things. I believe Georgia beats LSU in the bowl game, and Georgia and LSU end up getting those 2 spots out of the SEC. I think they win
which
the
means
SEC.
Alabama would definitely
be out
if they win it. Yeah.
And then it would be Ohio State and Clemson. So you would have probably Ohio State 1 versus at that point you'd put LSU 4 if they lost that game, and then you would have Clemson and Georgia battling it out. That's what I see happening.
And I can't disagree with that. The obvious counterpoint to that, presuming that Georgia loses, which I still think LSU is going to beat Georgia. Presuming Georgia loses, there is going to be no 2-loss team in the Final Four this year. I'm not saying ever, but this year, the way it's played out, there's enough good 1-loss teams out there that there's not going to be a 2-loss team in there. So it's Georgia. So if Georgia wins out the season and plays a close game with LSU, but still loses, you can't ignore that 1 loss, and their loss was to South Carolina, which is.
They know they control. Alabama does not control their own path right now based on that they don't win their division.
Right.
Georgia controls it. And when they knew that, even after the SEC gives you a hall pass as long as you get to the conference title game. And meaning that 1 loss to South Carolina was a bad loss, but Georgia has gotten way better since then. And if they go out there and they win the game against LSU in the title game, they're in. They know that. They know they're not going to leave an SEC champ with 1 loss. You're not going to jump them with LSU. You're not going to jump them with Alabama. Oklahoma or Oregon's not going to pass that team. So Georgia knows that. And they're playing the way – the only reason I say that, too, is because I've watched the details. I was at the UWF game, but I watched the Georgia game right there in the Cox Media Room at Blue Wahoo Stadium. We watched Georgia and Auburn, and Bill Valona was upstairs, and we were watching that together on the laptop. Georgia has been manhandling teams defensively. Their defense is just getting better. It might be the best defense in the country.
Yeah, they've allowed 1 rushing touchdown all season.
Yeah, all season. And they're physical. Their offensive line is big. And because of that, I think if you can – you're not going to stop Joe Burrow the way he's playing LSU, but you can hope to contain him and keep him off the field. And I think there's no team better right now to do that than Georgia right now. Or Ohio State. And they're not going to play Ohio State until they get to the championship. So.
And to play devil's advocate with you, because I guess you read the News Journal today and a great article on this Chase fella, the receiver at LSU, breaking records, and they went through the whole story.
Yes.
So LSU's got not only Burrow, but he's got great receivers.
They always have, too. Yeah.
And Alabama's loaded again, so you got a couple, Judy and the other fella, so they got 2 NFL receivers there. Georgia graduated a lot of their best receivers last year, so they don't have those signature receivers that we normally would see. So Fromm is going to play on Sundays, we presume. But right now, and if any receivers, they could be younger or greener, we just don't know, but no obvious. So we know Judy will be there on Sundays, and this Chase fellow is going to be playing on Sundays. So, yeah, having a great quarterback is great, but you got to have the receivers. The best example I can give you, Manziel, whenever he looks at his Heisman Trophy or whatever, he better call up and call up Evans and thank Evans, because I saw a lot of those plays. I watched those games, and a lot of those passes scrambling around. He just throwed the thing up, and it's Evans and 2 deep back. Evans reach up like a basketball player, out jump him, catch it. It's big reception, and Manziel got all the credit. But Evans is the real deal, and he's showing it in the NFL. So he had a real NFL receiver on his team.
And Georgia has that Lawrence Cager, the big 6'5". He's they got him back 2 weeks ago against Florida, and he's a game changer. Without him, they lost their 4 best receivers early in the season. It took Jake Fromm a little time to gel with these guys, but with Cager back, it's a completely different dynamic. And I don't think Georgia's the best football team. I think they match up. Terrence, you know about this, whether it's in law, if you're dealing with education law or mass communication law, or if you're dealing with contract law or anything like that, injury law. other lawyers will tell you, hey, I do this, but this is the guy to talk to about that. Same thing with Georgia. Georgia might not be the best team, but I think they match up well against LSU. That's all I'm saying here. I don't think there is LSU might be a better overall team, but Georgia matches up to the dynamics to be able to stop a guy like Joe Burrow or possibly stop him. That's all I'm saying.
And LSU's defense is not the best.
No, it's not. No.
Their strong suit this season is their throwing game, and Burrow is he's phenomenal. Yeah.
With all that being said, they got to beat Texas A&M this week, so we'll take steps at a time here because that's how it works in the SEC. And we'll get to more of the games coming up here. Florida State, Florida, one of the best rivalries in sports. So many great matchups that will continue after this weekend. After the bye, they'll come back and play next weekend in the Swamp. Coming back with Terrence A. Gross with the Gross & Schuster Law Firm. It's Tomahawk Talk on ESPN Pensacola.
This is Tort Talk with personal injury lawyer Terrence A. Gross.
Hi, this is Terrence A. Gross. Did you know there are over 100,000 lawyers in the state of Florida? Less than 2,000 are board-certified civil trial lawyers. I'm proud to say that both myself and my law partner Charlie Schuster have been board-certified for over 25 years and specialize in handling personal injury claims.
Tort Talk is brought to you by Terrence A. Gross. Call 434-3333 or check him out at grossandschuster.com.
Just felt there's a huge need in Pensacola to bring foot and ankle services, specifically orthopedic foot and ankle services, to this area. There's so much growth in Pensacola. I wanted a freestanding orthopedic foot and ankle center to do this, and as far as I can tell, this is the only one really in the country that's freestanding. Most orthopedic surgeons are part of a multi-specialty group. So we offer on-site x-rays, on-site CT scan, and on-site MRI. They can come to one place.
Visit NielsenOrthopedics.com to reserve your appointment today.
Why wait for Black Friday? Get Black Friday prices today at the Home Depot. Up to 40% off appliance special buys, plus up to $600 in extra savings instantly on select appliances. No rebate, no hassle. Like a modern Frigidaire front control range for just $699. That's $400 off. Talk about holiday cheer. Black Friday savings early, now at the Home Depot. More saving, more doing. U.S. only while supplies last. Gas extra. See store for details. Valid through December 5th.
The Sports Drive with Chad Brillante is your drive home from work. Weekly interviews with legendary head coaches like Pat Dye from Auburn.
You had to have a lot of respect for that quarterback.
And Gene Stallings from Alabama.
They've thrown the ball quite a bit. They've got excellent wide receivers.
In-studio guests, expert commentary. The Sports Drive with Chad Brillante. 5 till 7 every weekday afternoon on ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
You're listening to Pensacola's home for hometown sports. ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM 99.1 FM.
Welcome back to Tomahawk Talk right here on ESPN Pensacola. Thanks for joining us. Terrence A. Gross of the Gross & Schuster Law Firm joining us, proud sponsors of Florida State football here on the network as Florida State getting ready to go. Now, Terrence, this team is not officially in. They actually have to win their last two games to even be bowl eligible, but it's Rutgers and it's Maryland. So if they lose, shame on them. But according to ESPN and CBS, I double-checked to see, right now they would have Florida State playing Michigan State in the Quick Lanes Bowl. Hey, it's a dome. It's Detroit, Michigan. But it'd be Quick Lanes Bowl between Florida State and Michigan State. You know what? It's a decent name, at least, even though, you know.
Yeah, they're struggling.
They're 4-6 this year. They're not that good.
And I've heard Mississippi State and some other bowl, and we were in the Shreveport Bowl, I think, year before last, so maybe that one. But
would you make that trip to Detroit?
No,
I don't think many people would.
I would make it for any bowl this year, but anyway, we'll see. But let's bring out the ugly topic. Let's just go ahead and talk about the FSU Florida game. Okay, so Vegas doesn't give a flip. They're not for the Seminoles. They're not for the Gators. They're a business, and they make business decisions with no emotions, no fan base. And the Gators came out a 21-point favorite, and I'm thinking, I'm a Seminole. I ain't taking that bet. So I am not going to take FSU plus 21 to a bookie, to any Gator friend that just wants to jab me. It's at Florida. They know the weakness. We do have the hostility and the mutual, I don't want to call it hatred, but say dislike. It's not as bad as our Miami rivalry, but still, there would be a lot of joy. The Gators will show up to feast on the Seminole carcass for Thanksgiving weekend. So it doesn't bode well for us. I don't care who the coach is. Anything's possible. And in this series, there have been years, and I can't name them from memory, but I know where there was one team that was far superior during the season that somehow lost in that particular game. So anything can happen, but Vegas, they got their 3 touchdowns. It's in the swamp. It's at night. That's a touchdown advantage right there. And then I think the best thing that happened to the Gators all season, and you hate to say this, is when Felipe went down.
No, you're right. Yeah.
Trask is a way better quarterback than Felipe. I mean, anybody just watching, a casual observer would have to admit that. He's a good general, maybe not the strongest arm in the world, but he doesn't have to be. He's got a lot of talent and athletes around him. Their defense is stingy. So they're a 2-loss team for a reason, and their 2 losses are nothing to be embarrassed by. You're losing to 2 great teams. So at the end of the day, I think it's going to be a pretty ugly team, and the Seminoles, I wouldn't say give up, but we watched the Clemson game. It was kind of hard to watch. But anyway, we still don't have the offensive line, so they're going to dominate. Their defensive line is going to dominate our offensive line. I don't care who the quarterback is. It won't be Hornibrook, I'll tell you that, and his days are over. Basically, I think we made up our minds. We got to prepare for the future.
Yep.
So he came in. I'm glad he came. He had some opportunities. But right now, between Blackman will start for sure, and I'm sure we'll see a lot of this Jordan Travis.
Yeah.
But and how much throwing, I don't know, but he certainly gives us sort of a different look, a little bit of a running option, a wildcat type option, and his running ability is unbelievable.
Terrence, I think, and don't hold this against me because I think you would agree with this. I didn't watch a lick of the Alabama State game. I was at UWF game.
All right.
We were there, and not because I don't care. It's because we hosted the UWF playoff. I mean, to get them at West Alabama, the game down there, we were hosting the party. Brent Lane and I were down there, and we did the Argo walk, and then I was watching Georgia Auburn. So I didn't get to watch any of it was an early start, correct? It was an 11 o'clock. I did not get to watch it.
Right.
But I did want to key in because Jordan Travis did have the 4 carries for 70 yards.
Right.
And I wanted to ask you, did he – because Alabama State, even though they're not a big name, Alabama's got athletes still out there. These aren't some big corn-fed white boys that weigh 270. These are probably guys that still run a 4.5, guys that are still fast athletes. Did Jordan Travis look like the deal he did against Boston College in that one as well?
He really did. He absolutely did. And he threw for 71 yards. But the one pass he threw, it was more like a lob, to our tight end releasing late. And nobody was near him. He caught it, and there was nobody. He just ran for 30, 40 yards because nobody touched him. Yeah, so it wasn't like some great pass. But there were some things that concern me about Alabama State. You see the score looks really good. I mean, I think it was and then it was 49-12
Yeah,
or
that was the
something.
final, yeah.
Okay, so, but really, they passed for 270 yards on us. And a lot of those passes, once again, were guys that are wide open where we had to close the gap and tackle. That's Alabama State. So they took us for 270 yards above their average of the season against us. That doesn't bode well. We had 5 penalties in the first half, legal formation, a couple of that. Same stuff over and over again. So really, looking at Alabama State, the score doesn't tell the story. They have time of possession. We did score quick, so time of possession doesn't tell you everything, but we had the ball for 19 minutes and 30 seconds. They had it for 40 minutes and 30 seconds. So, good game. Yeah, it's a win. And if can I use this to morph into another topic? 'Cause
Absolutely.
it does
Yeah,
dovetail into another topic.
Well, look, I'm talking all day. This is your
Good.
show.
Okay, thank you.
I'm
okay.
happy. Yeah,
Well,
for sure.
my brain.
No,
I'm on
no,
a free
please.
roll here.
I'm good.
I'm on a free roll. But so anyway, there's this push up some amongst the players and some boosters to give Odell the head coaching job, and I'm not only saying no, but hell no. And they say, well, he's 4-0. Okay, well, he's 4-0. Think about his 4-0. Delaware State is one win, right?
Southern Miss.
Southern Miss, which was okay in the bowl game. Now Alabama State and BC. Okay, so BC good. And that was an ugly game. I'm glad we won that one as well. But again, there's some ugliness to it. So at the end of the day, he's had no head coaching experience. He's never been a defensive coordinator. He's been a defensive line coach his whole career. And even Coach O at LSU, correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't he the head coach at Ole Miss before going?
Yes, he was, yeah.
Okay, so he had been a head coach before, had actually made some mistakes, I think, but at least had that experience.
Yeah,
so,
he was at USC as well.
So I think Odell as head coach is a little bit better than Dion, and people are floating around Dion, by the way. Thinking, oh, really, Dion?
I hope that train's already
I don't
gone
know.
off the track.
That's almost like Saturday Night Live-ish, really.
Yeah, it's not.
But some people seriously drinking the Kool-Aid there, So, yeah, there are some names out there, and they're repeated. So the Iowa State guy could be interesting, but he wants to wait to the end of the season, which makes it tough on recruiting. Fleck we've talked about, Norvell at Memphis we've talked about. I have the Jack Del Rio. I'm not sure what he was in the NFL. Where did he play college? Was he at Florida Gator? Was Del Rio?
Jack Del Rio played. Now, see, he was. I know he played for the Minnesota Vikings in the NFL, but his college where he went to college, I thought he was a California guy. I want to say USC.
Okay,
I thought he was a USC
and for
guy.
some reason, I was thinking Gators, but I don't know why I thought.
Yeah,
that.
he went to USC.
Okay,
Yeah, he went to USC.
All right.
And he played. He was a good line. I mean, he was a Pro Bowler.
Right.
He was the kind of guy. Rose Bowl MVP, All Rookie team. He was a Pro Bowler, Saints Rookie of the Year award when he played for New Orleans. But yeah, Jack Del Rio, he's got a pedigree of being a head coach with Jacksonville, was a head coach with Oakland, and did okay. But he was only there for, he was with Jacksonville, surprisingly, 9 years almost.
Okay.
I mean, he was there for a long time in Jacksonville. After the Tom Coughlin era, he sort of took over, and he was the guy from 2003 to 2011. But he knows the area, obviously. Then being in Jacksonville, I'm not saying I've heard, and look, at this point, Terrence, I'm literally eating popcorn now, sitting back and I joked about I'm gonna grab my popcorn and sit and relax. I'm actually doing it. The CMA Awards, they have all this extra popcorn down there, so I've been eating it. I do have inside sources. You have more based on being a Golden Chief, and we still, between your mind, my mind, talk to Flash. Even nobody knows the exact answer. Nobody.
No.
I mean, at this point,
It's very hush hush,
yeah.
which is probably a good thing. But it makes it disconcerting for our recruits. So I think we now have just lost our 5th commitment. So we worked our way up to number 9 before Willie was let go. And I'm sure we're in the 20s now as we get these decommits. Now, some of them they may come back. They may just say, hey, I want to step back and open it up. But if we make a big splash, they may come right back.
But I don't think they're going to – personally, I don't think they're going to hire a coach that's already that is already hired. And the reason for it is because it was a pain in the you-know-what to pay that buyout, regardless of somebody they went and paid it out. Nobody wanted to pay what I think Flash said yesterday was going to be 14.5 is what officially Willie's going to take. Then they have to also pay for Willie at Oregon and a little of what he had at USF and all of his contracts before, or Oregon, I think the Oregon one. But then you also have to, if you bring in a coach that's already with a job, you're going to have to pay some of that. You're also going to have to potentially, they're going to want an entire new staff. So you're going to have to pay for new assistants, new defensive coordinators. Now this is starting to get rich. And if you get a new guy coming in there, like the names like a Bob Stoops or a Jack Del Rio or the possibility of a guy who's not coaching right now, that might be a little bit cheaper on the wallet. Maybe not long-term of what they're asking for, because Bob Stoops, it sounds, is asking for the moon, but it would be cheaper than having to pay another buyout from another team.
Well, I got another one for you. And
Yeah.
again, this is still the rumor mill because most of mine it's through social media, but there's another big name out there at a big university with lots of success that most people give their eye teeth for.
I think I know what you're talking about.
And his buyout is only $1 million, which is nothing.
Is that a guy maybe that's playing Ohio State this week?
If it's Penn State,
Yeah.
Franklin.
Yeah.
So Franklin, they say his buyout right now is only $1 million, but the question is,
does he want to leave Penn State?
Well, that's the question.
I mean,
So to go from Minnesota to FSU is definitely a career advancement.
Yes.
To go from Memphis to FSU, a career
Same with
advancement.
Iowa State. Yep.
Now Penn State has got their history, and other than that tarnish with Sandusky, it's been a clean program. They're very academic. Their academics are crazy good, so I'm sure they don't have to worry about their players, making grades, and probably the players are probably a little bit more well behaved than others. So they're just like Notre Dame. Some of them are just they're really good universities to boot. So Big Ten, Penn State, he's got them up there. Why would he want to leave? Unless there's some, I don't even know his connection. He was at Vanderbilt. Where was he before Vanderbilt? Where did he come from?
I don't think he was younger at Vanderbilt, and he did what he did at Vanderbilt set a precedent for Vanderbilt that they never seen before in football. And they're bringing back, and that Vanderbilt doesn't care. I don't want to say doesn't care. They beat you in education and books, but
sure, right.
But at the same time with Vanderbilt, I think they're going to finish 2-10 this year. And Derek Mason's already been confirmed he's coming back, so they're not worried as much about that. But no, he's only 47 years old, James Franklin. He's not an old guy.
I just wonder if he had a Southern connection.
Based on before he got to Vanderbilt, he was the offensive coordinator at Maryland for 3 years, and then he was at Kansas State for 2 years, and he was also with the Green Bay Packers as a wide receivers coach. Idaho State, James Madison, the Roskilde Kings. I don't even know who that is. This is not. He doesn't seem like.
So he doesn't have that South Florida connection.
No,
and we need to recruit.
But he's from
there.
Pennsylvania, though. So that's another thing is he's from Langhorne, Pennsylvania. So Penn State, he probably grew up a Penn State fan. I'm sure.
Then I can't imagine him leaving. I mean, I don't know what his pay is, but they probably would want to sweeten the pot anyway.
It's $5.65 million.
Oh,
this
that's
year.
competitive. Yeah,
that's very competitive.
Yeah,
that's
very
not. Yeah, I don't. And that's a name. Also, like anything, when you put names out there for two reasons. Agents put names out there to get them paid higher because Penn State will come back with a counter. That's the number one job in the business. They come back with a counter.
Right.
And then secondly, on top of that, it makes Florida State look better because they got names like James Franklin hovering and Bob Stoops. Even if they're not candidates, when you talk Bob Stoops or Jack Del Rio or James Franklin, it gains a little bit more credibility than talking about Mark Stoops.
Right.
That's where we're at right now. But I do believe in my heart that they're going to hire a splash move. That they're not, that you guys, Terrence, are not spending this much time and resources, and we waited this long. If they were going to hire a Matt Campbell or something, I think the works would start to be already in progress. Matt Campbell seems to be a legit name, but if they were going to hire somebody that wasn't a splash, they would already have done. The writing would be on the wall. They're doing this because they know taking a little time, which is hurting a little bit of recruiting, but taking a little bit of time right now for the future of 5-6 years of building where Florida State was is more important than the next couple weeks.
Probably so, and I still think that they probably want Bob Stoops, but thinking again, he asked for the moon, and when he didn't get it, maybe he's coming back to the table. I mean, it's
he did this to Florida a little too. My dad is a booster at Florida.
All right,
and he said that Florida. Remember, Stoops was their number one candidate when they hired right after, I believe, when they end up hiring Will Muschamp.
Right.
Bob Stoops was the candidate right after Urban Meyer, and it sort of went south from there.
Right.
So,
right.
I don't know. It's there's still a lot of. I hate saying this in the business because I'm in this business and I take my job with pride, but I don't know at all at this point who it could be.
Right.
I'm not even. We've heard all the names. I'm not erasing my Facebook post with Bob Stoops yet, but at the same time, Terrence, you would know more than anybody in this building in this. Yeah, exactly. So when we come back, we're going to get some more on Florida State football talk here after the victory against Alabama State. We'll look into the future. Jordan Travis and some of the guys coming up here. It's Tomahawk Talk, brought to you by the Gross & Schuster Law Firm, right here on ESPN Pensacola.
What do I cherish? Precious moments watching Dad read to my little Eric. That's why I'm so grateful I insisted on an eye exam when I noticed him struggling with the words on the page. We found out Dad has age-related macular degeneration, or AMD. Luckily, the doctor caught it in time for treatment, so Dad can still read. Protect yourself and your loved ones. Call the Foundation Fighting Blindness today at 1-800-254-6552 for a free packet on preventing and managing AMD. That's 1-800-254-6552.
The new Michelin silicone plates last through everything.
On a world record-breaking drive from Alaska to South America in unpredictable conditions.
Thunderstorms, ice storms, they just don't quit.
Rainier Zeitlo chose Michelin Endurance XT silicone wiper blades with advanced quad-tech 4-layer coated silicone that repels water, snow, and ice and lasts 2 times longer than other blades.
It's coming down in sheets.
Real world proven. Extreme weather wiping performance. Upgrade to Michelin Endurance XT silicone wiper blades today. Only at Walmart.
The UWF Argos are back in the playoffs in football.
Yeah!
And your home for Argonaut football is ready to get the party started. Join us at Seville Quarter this Saturday for the UWF Watch Party as Davis Allen and the Sports Call will kick things off at 10. Pregame at 11:30 with Will Kennedy and the first-round playoff matchup versus Wingate with kickoff at noon. You don't want to miss out. This arguably could be the best party ever. Hey-o! Brought to you by Central Credit Union, where you belong.
You're listening to Pensacola's home for hometown sports. ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
And welcome back. Tomahawk Talk right here on ESPN Pensacola. 1330 AM, 99.1 FM. Joining us, Terrence A. Gross of the Gross & Schuster Law Firm. Terrence, baseball, I don't want to get into the weeds here on baseball. We had a lot, but with Mike Martin and going forward, do you feel that Florida State will continue in baseball to keep that tradition and pride with what Mike had built for 40 years?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, really, we're known, number one. We are in the Sun Belt. So I mean, it's just a great place to play. The state of Florida, with you have extended season practices. I can't imagine what the practices must be like up in Michigan, baseball inside a gym where it's 3 feet of snow. So you got all that going for you. And we have a rich tradition. Our stadium, we made many improvements in the past 10 years on that stadium. So it's a great facility. So no, we got a lot of support from the university. A lot of alumni. Games are well attended. There's nothing really negative about it. The only real negative you could say about FSU baseball is Martin never won the big one. I mean, we went to the dance so many times. I think 18 times or something.
It's so hard to do in baseball, though.
Right.
I mean, baseball is a different breed to win. It's not in football. I mean, we know. You can watch enough football to know the top 5 or 6 teams. Baseball, you get unranked teams like Oregon State a couple years back, Coastal Carolina.
I remember that.
These teams weren't ranked in the regular season. They went it all. Michigan this year went all the way to the title game, and they weren't on the radar for most of the year. It's a different breed in baseball. You get hot at the right time with the right pitchers. You're always going to have your Vanderbilts and the teams at Florida State's, Florida's. But it's a different breed in baseball.
Yeah, I went there the last year of Rosenblatt Stadium.
I've been there twice.
So that was 2010, and in the final 8 were FSU, Florida Gators, and the Gamecocks. My brother had gone to South Carolina. South Carolina actually ended up winning that, but we at least caused Florida's early exit. So that was that. But it was a blast, just the whole thing. And LSU was not there, but LSU fans were. And I asked them, what are you doing? He says, oh, this is a great party. I mean,
they love
to them,
it,
it's like the Kentucky Derby, and they were all purple and gold, and they weren't even there. And a lot of LSU fans.
LSU does a great. The box is one of those rare things you'll go any night, and it's packed. I mean, it's LSU in baseball is huge. But I look right now at the way that South Carolina, you just brought up South Carolina. Ray Tanner was their baseball coach. Now he's the athletic director. And Terrence, he made the comments. He didn't need to. You know, it's like that guy sometimes boasting at the party, and he says something, you're like, nobody needs to hear that. You know, he said Will Muschamp's our guy. He did it 2 weeks ago.
Right.
Now they're 4-7. They've just lost 3 games straight to Appalachian State. They just got completely annihilated by Texas A&M by 30. And now they're going to get beat up by Clemson this week, too. They're going to finish 4-8. It's almost inevitable. With one of those wins being Georgia, which is funny. But do you feel he regrets those comments? Because, frankly, I wouldn't want Will Muschamp. I've seen enough. Florida State fans miss Will Muschamp at Florida, I think. 4-8 Will Muschamp, why would he say that he's definitely our guy? Do you think he regrets that at this point?
Well, I'll tell you a story I heard a long time ago, and it was when Spurrier was leaving Florida, and he had a chance to
and
go
who was
to
taking
Alabama.
over, Zook?
Probably Zook, whoever
Yeah.
it was, and I think it was Shula possibly was at Alabama. So he could have had that job. He could have pushed and gotten the Alabama job. And he pretty much said, I go to South Carolina, and if we lose 2 or 3 games, I'm a king. At Alabama, they're going to ride you out of town. So I think the South Carolina just in football hasn't had the luxury of all those wins. So you began the program asking me about bowl eligibility.
Yeah.
It's Florida State.
You expect more,
so
yeah.
maybe our expectations when you finish 14 consecutive top 5 finishes. So if you didn't win the national title, you either played for it or you played in the second biggest bowl.
Had the longest bowl streak until last year, correct?
Yeah,
I think so.
Absolutely,
yeah.
So the so South Carolina's never had a lot of success. Every now and then they'd have one quarterback that did whatever. I can't remember. They had one good quarterback about 8 years ago, but I think it was with Muschamp, whoever it was.
Connor Shaw.
Yeah.
Was his
Okay.
name.
It was a good quarterback. Put him on. Had a good face for them, and they've had a couple good players here and there, but said and done, they just they haven't been that relevant. So it's a lot different. If your program has been spoiled. Tennessee was at the height of college football with Fulmer and Peerless Pearson representing. I mean, they were just exciting to watch, and they beat FSU in the national title out in Arizona. And then look where they are today. So going to a bowl for Tennessee fans is not what they want.
No.
In Nebraska, Frost is trying to turn them around. Not having the best season down there, but again, Nebraska, just their rich history. Look at the history and where they were, and it's kind of sad. So winning 7 or 8 games a season is not going to make the Huskers happy, not going to make the Seminoles happy. It's better than losing season, but really. But there's certain schools you go to. So, if Muschamp could win 7 or 8 games for the rest of his career, he'd be at South Carolina forever.
Yeah, and I think and winning that game against Georgia, very important, obviously, compared to where they could be this year. Looking right now, losing at home against Appalachian State is not going to keep your job that much, but they're a good team this year. They're ranked number 24 in the nation. So
look at this note, too. So think about Georgia. Georgia's another storied program, right? Mm-hmm. And Rick was fired on a 9-3 season.
Yes,
9-3. That most people go, 9-3 SEC. And he's fired, and then Les Miles had done everything for LSU. 9-3. He was fired on a 9-3 season. And if you go to Nebraska, it was Patino, wherever was that his name. He was fired on a 9-3 season. He went 9-3 his last season and fired.
Yeah,
and then they went to a dumpster.
Yeah, and that's how it will be, and that's if you have those kind of guys, you're gonna get. There are some coaches that their expectations are so high, and you're right with South Carolina. South Carolina in the ACC, I would say, is looked at the way Virginia is looked at football. If you go, if you go 6-6, it's okay. They're fine making a bowl game. They better win in basketball if you're Virginia, or if you're South Carolina, you better win in baseball. But no, they're not as worried about that overall. And Bo Pelini was the guy I think you're thinking of.
Pelini,
yeah,
Thank
he was.
you. Yeah.
He was a mean old guy. But I look right now and Florida State could use some of that light the fire though on that. I'm not sure where he is now, but Florida State right now going into it, you see what Laybourne was able to get some carries. You saw Terry's had some plays offensively. You said 21 points, but is there any? I mean, they've shown competitiveness. Is there any chance that you're seeing that this Florida State team can beat Florida coming up here in next week? I know it's a 21-point spread, but
the odds come out of Vegas are Gators 92%.
Wow.
So
Vegas,
that's
not
Vegas
that's
is
not
unemotional. So it's not looking good, and it's at their home, and it's at night. So it just the stars aligning. So I don't care who the coach is. But we were talking earlier how bad the ACC football is. This is probably the worst ACC group of football teams I've ever seen. You take away Clemson, and mediocrity could be a compliment. I mean, it at best. I mean,
it's a terrible year.
It's a terrible year. Georgia Tech, which usually would have a competitive team, is awful, and so forth. So they were really bad. But I read the paper today, and to my surprise, 4 of the top 6 basketball teams are ACC. How about that?
Yeah. Well, that's you got. And Kentucky losing a national game to Evansville didn't help the SEC's cause right now. But you have, Florida State beat Florida straight up. Florida was ranked 6th, I think, when Florida State beat them. So that's good. But no, even teams like Pitt, they beat Florida State this year, but a solid team. But Duke, North Carolina, you've got
Louisville was number 2.
Yeah, Louisville's a good team too. I watch them. I've got a friend who actually works with them over there and does that does all of their shows. He's their radio guy, a friend of mine, and they're good this year. Louisville's good, and so I think Louisville can win it all, but I think Virginia's obviously. Tony Bennett always has a good squad out there and is competitive. Looking at let's go ahead and take a quick break. When we come back, we are going to talk some more FSU football. We'll get into some more of what's happening this week around the college football landscape and the college football playoff right here on Tomahawk Talk.
It's happening. Wherever plays are being made, tickets are being sold, and fans are lining up. ADP is designing a better way to work. With industry-leading HR, talent, time, benefits, and payroll, more companies rely on ADP than any other HR partner to help step up their game. From small business to global enterprise. See how ADP can help you and your people achieve what you're working for at design.adp.com. ADP, always designing for people.
This is Tort Talk with personal injury lawyer Terrence A. Gross.
Hi, this is Terrence A. Gross. Since I've been practicing law here in the Panhandle for over 40 years, I thought I would share a few tips if you are involved in a car wreck. First, call law enforcement. Get witnesses' names. Take pictures of cars in the scene. Get checked out medically as soon as possible. Don't give a recorded statement. Don't sign any releases. And get a free consultation with an experienced personal injury lawyer.
Visit grossandschuster.com.
Time for an oil change? Our AutoZone Rewards program is here to help you take care of the job. We've got great deals on the products you need to keep that well-oiled machine, oiled. Members get a $5 bonus reward when they purchase 5 quarts of Castrol Edge full synthetic motor oil and an STP extended life oil filter for just $33.99. Celebrating that oil change with an I Did It starts here. Visit your local AutoZone today and we'll help you get what you need to get the job done right. See terms at AutoZone.com/rewards. Restrictions apply.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Big show this Saturday. We are live at Seville Quarter starting at 10 for the UWF Wingate playoff game at noon. Sports Call with Davis and Justin live from Seville and presented by Central Credit Union of Florida on ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM 99.1 FM. ESPN Pensacola is your home for Argos football. Catch the action this week as the Argos take on Wingate in round 1 of the Division II playoffs. Will Kennedy goes live at 11:30, kickoff at noon on ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
You're listening to Pensacola's home for hometown sports. ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
Welcome back. Tomahawk Talk right here on ESPN Pensacola. Thanks again, Terrence A. Gross of the Gross & Schuster Law Firm joining us here today. And, Terrence, when you look right now, Florida State is getting set to go bye week. Do you believe, based on it is a rivalry and they want to win, or do you expect to see more of, hey, let's try, this is our final game of importance to go out there and have our players like Jordan Travis, guys like that, to have an opportunity to shine? It was obvious they were going to allow him to play and other guys against Alabama State. Do you see that same kind of game plan, or is it going to be straight James Blackman against the Florida?
No, they'll have Blackman,
Yeah.
but I think we'll see. For a while, as you saw at Boston College, we experimented with Cam Akers in the Wildcat, a high school quarterback and all that. But I think what we're going to now see is Jordan Travis fill those shoes, maybe have him in the backfield with Cam. Now you got a little – the linebackers have to be keeping them honest, so the play action would – be something. I mean,
yes,
because most of our play actions weren't fooling anybody, and when they knew that what was going to go on. So now who's going to have the ball, whatever. So I think it's just a different setting. And I don't know what he runs the 40 in, but he's quick. He is quick, and to compare him to a Florida great, Percy Harvin, he's got that kind of speed and moves. So
that's a big compliment. Right?
It is, yeah. And now I don't know if he could throw. I mean, again, he had that one little throw, and what much. On paper, it was a long pass, but it really wasn't. But truthfully, don't know much about that. But I think we'll have different looks. So I think we're going to have a lot of that Wildcat look with either Cam or that. I think a little more trickery with these guys. We got to do something. Maybe some direct snaps to Cam Akers, possibly. You have Blackman in there and do a direct snap to Cam Akers. Wouldn't surprise me. Something like that.
Who was the most – I want to bring back some good memories here at Florida State, because I went to a lot of games with my uncle when he was starting Sunshine Network, and we'd go down there to some of the games and got to speak with a lot of these guys. Most electrifying player that I watch – I'm going to put a couple names, and I want your opinion on this. Snoop Minnis, Peter Warrick, or Deion Sanders during their time? Who was the most electrifying out of those three?
In fact, Snoop Minnis would not even be on my list.
No, I know. I
I'll
sort of throw him in as a decoy.
I'm gonna throw another one in there you may or may not know, just because he was one and done. But maybe most electrifying. I mean, up there you named the two of my three.
Yeah.
But there's another guy named Tamarick Vanover.
I remember, yeah.
And when he received a kickoff, it was like a 50% chance it was a TD.
He was taking it back. Yeah.
He was going to take that thing back.
Him and Kerfonso Thorpe could take one of those back to the house. I remember both those guys, yeah.
But Tamarick Vanover was exceptional. And then I think he got into some legal trouble and probably never – I think he ended up in the Canadian Football League for something. But definitely a guy that underperformed, that had tremendous talent. But Deion on punt returns, people always remember him as a cornerback, but he was our punt returner. And it was all this going back. He'd run for a 60-yard thing. Would probably be 140 yards, because he'd go back and forth and this and that, and just do this little head fake stop, slow up a little bit, and then speed up, and all those moves. And then Peter Warrick, my greatest memories of Peter Warrick was national title 1999, Sugar Bowl, Virginia Tech, Michael Vick. And it was the Michael Vick show. We could not stop him. I mean, we'd have to blitz him, and he got him dead to rights, and we got linebackers and safeties grabbing for air. Just couldn't touch, like in flag football. I mean, the guy was so amazing, and they were putting points on the board. And then Peter Warrick, and he made that heroic touchdown grab, just a circus catch. It was all over ESPN at the time for a touchdown. But yeah, Peter Warrick was just amazing. Did not have the greatest NFL career. So some of these kids, great college. Now Deion was, he had everything. Baseball. He's the one that brought the chop to the Braves.
Yes, he did. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we only have a few minutes left. I always appreciate the time, Terrence, and good luck to Florida State coming up here against Florida. We'll talk about the game coming up next week.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
For Terrence A. Gross and the Gross & Schuster Law Firm, I'm Chad Brilliante. Have a great rest of your day. This is Tomahawk Talk. Go Florida State, and we'll talk some more next week. Thank you for joining us.
Here. Catch all the UWF Argos games and the big NFL games every Saturday and Sunday on Pensacola's home for hometown sports. ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM. If you would like to be a part of ESPN Pensacola as a sponsor or promotional partner, just give us a call at 262-6000 or visit our website